Welcome to a 1v1 on Faymonville approach. This one is going to be SS in action versus Hon3ynuts. So, should be a good one. I'm not familiar with SS in action, but I'm quite familiar with Hon3ynuts because he snipes my stream and watches it pretty much every time I start streaming. Boom, he's there within like 5 seconds. So, this is kind of a tribute to him, and hopefully this should be a really good game. We have combat engineers from Hon3ynuts moving down to the strategic point over here. Pioneers from SS in action moving up to the strategic point immediately above the austere base. And we also have an infantry company being produced. And grenadiers straight into MG42 hitting the field. From Hon3ynuts we have no buildings just yet, just going straight into conscripts. If we take a look at his doctrines, we do have Soviet shock army, shock rifle, and guard motor. So no ISU here. Heaviest possible call-in is the IS-2, followed up by the T-3485. So those are going to be the options available in the late game for him, and it looks like he's going to be using conscripts as his core of infantry here. Spreading out a little bit over the map, grabbing points. We also have grenadiers moving up here towards the middle, grabbing the strategic point, while the pioneers continue to circle around the back, in fact going for the right side strategic point before going for the fuel, so that's a little bit interesting. And the grenadiers also not going for the fuel, but instead moving just on the strategic point, so a very conservative, safe start from SS in action here, but it will cost him a little bit of fuel, as these conscripts have already made it to the fuel point before he has. Pioneers encounter the conscripts holding still, pioneers going to charge over open ground. I think that's going to cost him this engagement, taking heavy damage. He actually runs past the conscripts into the building. Conscripts have taken almost no damage, and they're going to move into the yellow cover over here. Should give them the advantage, and there are really no troops up to support. Combat engineers taking up a position in the house, while the MG42 moves across the right side. So,
fresh conscripts have arrived.
Looks like this fuel will be going to Hon3ynuts. SS in action does take control of the left side fuel, also moving here. Having a little difficulty, I think, positioning his MG42 in a good way. He doesn't want to get too far away from his grenadier squad, so he's moving it down here to support. But he also needs to take control of this munitions point. So pioneers weren't really able to accomplish much from inside of that building. He's now putting a grenadier in this house. This house only has one window on this side, so he's not really able to do all that much to his opponent. These conscripts still haven't even really taken any damage. Oh, actually these were the conscripts that were being shot, but they're at about half health. But now we have Molotovs getting researched, and he's definitely going to be using those to eject these grenadiers from the building. Molotov going in. And he's being a little bit slow to evacuate the house. There he goes. Fortunately, there were no flame crits, so he didn't take all that much damage. MG42 setting up to defend against a conscript charge down here in the south. Nice reposition of the MG42, perfectly timed to dodge that particular Molotov. And it looks like the conscripts are going to flank around the side of the house. Grenadiers are taking up a position in the house, but they're taking heavy damage. These conscripts are going to stay suppressed. Oh, actually, those conscripts are just barely inside the arc of fire, and they're going to get suppressed as well. And the grenadiers firing on these conscripts will probably keep them suppressed, but the combat engineers will be able to take control of the fuel in the midst of this engagement. Grenadiers firing on suppressed conscripts are going to do massive damage. Molotov going out could be devastating, though. It could have been aimed a little bit better. Only 2 of those grenadiers actually got hit. MG42 continuing to fire. Looks like the combat engineers could take up a position in the house. No, they don't make it. Oh, but the fire from the previous Molotov doing too much damage. Those grenadiers can't afford to stay. He has to make a quick retreat. Molotov actually going from the suppressed conscripts on the house, but it's way too late. And now the MG42 is repositioning again. Meanwhile, there's continuing back and forth up here. These conscripts are doing a good job of harassing these grenadiers. There's a Molotov burning those grenadiers right now, I think. Didn't actually do all that much, though. Another one going in. So Hon3ynuts making pretty good use of his abilities. He's still relying on nothing but conscripts. He actually has 5 conscript squads right now for SS in action to contend with. So that's quite a few.
Grenadiers ready. We are ready.
And SS in action has 2 machine guns and 3 grenadiers. So machine guns can be a bit of a liability against conscript spam. They can oorah out of your arc of fire, they can throw the Molotov, try and get you decrewed, and if they manage to steal an MG42, it can almost be GG as soon as that happens. So you have to be very careful with them, have to support them very carefully. Grenadiers taking up a position in the house, but there are plenty of conscripts around to throw Molotovs. We do have an MG42 setting up, and those will get suppressed just about immediately. A Molotov does go into the building from this squad up here. Flamethrower also moving up though to assist. Going to do some respectable damage. They do have yellow cover in this trench thing on the side of the road. Grenadiers also moving up to help. Flamethrower slowly wiping the squad out. More conscripts moving up from the base though. I believe that's a fresh squad. No, it's not. 6 kills already. Moving up to help. Will be vet 1 soon. Forcing the Grenadiers away, but the Flamethrower does have green cover, does have a line on the house. Will continue damaging that. And SS in action has finally managed to take control of this fuel point, although he's kind of continuing to struggle against the conscripts that Hon3ynuts keeps sending over here to harass. This particular squad has 5 kills now. Looks like they threw a Molotov, did nice damage to that Grenadier squad, almost wiping it out on retreat. Conscripts actually got a nerf / buff. They got changed a little bit. I think they're better at longer ranges now, but worse at short ranges than they used to be. So they're a little bit better just sort of standing in cover and fighting at range, but don't necessarily do quite as much damage when they close in. At least that's what I think. I'll be honest, sometimes I have trouble understanding exactly what patch notes mean. There's a lot of charts and graphs and stuff on the forums, but I'm not very smart, so I can't figure all that complicated stuff out. Grenadiers moving down towards the fuel point. They're going to have to screen 2 conscript squads. That's going to be tough. An MG42 is on its way to support. Another MG42 also being positioned on the strategic point here. No other real troops moving in to support that are within range. We do have shock troops hitting the field, so it looks like, at least for now, SS in action should be able to hold this area. Making good use of green cover over there. We also have 2 squads of Grenadiers moving up over here. They're quite outnumbered, though, by this particular force. I don't think that they're going to be able to get off a rifle grenade at such short range either. And for some reason, he's focusing down the combat engineers, but he actually threw a stun grenade there, which stunned the conscripts for a moment, and I think he was trying to utilize that to give him time to cross the road, but now he's jumping back over his green cover for some reason, and then jumping back over it again, which is what happens when you just spam click the wall in a panic. You have to be a little bit more careful when you're doing stuff like that. Shock troops scaring away some Grenadiers over here, and it looks like the MGs that were in this area have retreated as well, or just actually repositioned. Elite Troops Doctrine, of course, has been chosen. He does have the stun grenades. Conscripts moving up and pushing, continuing to be very aggressive. He will have control of the left side fuel point soon, if nothing is mobilized to stop it. We do have an MG42, but it doesn't have a very good line on the point. Instead, he's going to suppress these shock troops. 1 burst isn't quite enough, though, and the smoke grenade does go out. Fortunately, they get suppressed before the smoke grenade lands. Meanwhile, over here, heavy damage on a Grand Squad. Forced to retreat through a Molotov. Almost loses it, but he does around the corner just in time. Suppression going out from the MG42 as well, so that's good. These shock troops were a little bit slow to move after lobbing their smoke grenade. MG42 is packing up. Oorah! Conscripts moving in. If he gets in this house, he could die for sure from a Molotov combined with shock troops. I think he should probably just retreat. Yep, there he goes. He knows he can't. There's not anything he can do to win that. And I think that SS in action really needs to start focusing on his fuel point, not so much on the enemy fuel point. It's too far away from his base. He's not going to be able to get the south side fuel. He should instead focus on the one right by his base. Of course, it does require him to cross the road, so he needs to make sure that he can... He has good positioning and doesn't expose himself to a lot of damage in his attempts to do that. We have a half-track hitting the field. Interesting choice. Against shock troops, certainly it's not bad at all. His enemy's not going to have any particularly scary anti-light vehicle infantry beyond just anti-tank grenades. If we take a look at Hon3ynuts' tech, we do see all 3 HQ upgrades being purchased. So he does have access to AT grenades, and that could be dangerous if a massive wave of conscripts catches the half-track out of position. But otherwise, it should make for a good mobile reinforce point. Nice dodge on that grenade. We also have a G43 upgrade on those grenadiers. Not sure if I think that's a good one. It's cheap, but I don't think it's very good. Not really doing very much damage here. Lots of damage going out on those shock troops, though. But the MG42 switches targets to the conscripts in the distance, and it looks like those shock troops are going to make it away just fine. Flamethrower moving up into the house. Machine gun not repositioning just yet. Conscripts getting to safety. We do have grenadiers finally retaking the fuel over here. More grenadiers taking the strategic point. Half-track moving up to assist here in the middle. Conscripts firing on the flamethrower in the house. They don't want to get too close and suffer a ton of flame crits. And some conscripts down here getting suppressed and taken out. It does require Battle Phase 2 to get flame projectors, which I think is a little weird because I think it's probably one of the worst upgrades in the game. Throwing that down to Battle Phase 1 might actually make it viable. I don't know. We're probably not going to see that on the half-track. He's probably just going to use it as a reinforced point. Pioneers are actually up to Vet 2, doing nice damage to their flamethrowers, even though they only have 4 kills. Half-track is moving up to reinforce the HMGs and to reinforce the Pioneers. Pioneers getting some kills on those retreating conscripts. All these conscripts also being forced away. The shock troops are reinforced, but they only have one kill. Haven't been used particularly effectively just yet. They've been pinned down and they haven't been able to get behind enemy lines and just tear holes in the enemy lines just yet. Grenadiers and Panzer Grenadiers and Flamethrower are sufficient to convince that shock troop squad to retreat once again. G43s firing on conscripts. Honestly, it doesn't even really seem like an upgrade to get those G43s. It seems like they do basically the same amount of damage that they would have done before. I'm not sure exactly how this makes them better. It just says increased firepower. I don't know if that's at medium range or short range. I think it's at short range that they're better. So it almost turns them into like a light assault infantry squad. I could be wrong about that though. Every time I've ever seen that upgrade, it just seems to not do much of anything at all. The LMGs just seem to be a much better purchase all around. But of course the LMG is 60 munitions, the G43s are only 45. I think making that the cheapest infantry upgrade in the game.
This is now German territory.
So I guess you wouldn't expect it to be anything too crazy. Pack hitting the field. Keeping it in a pretty defensive position for now. Panzer Grenadiers moving up, trying to do some damage to these conscripts on the wall. Molotov kind of misses a little bit, I think. No, it's doing pretty good damage actually. Panzer Grenadiers are going to be forced away.
The enemy is attempting to steal our sector.
Panzer Shreks upgraded on the Panzer Grenadiers. That's always good to see. We also have a mortar being produced by Hon3ynuts, doing what it can. Over here on the right side, we have conscripts engaging the Grenadiers. They're taking some losses, but he's actually firing a rifle grenade, and Hon3ynuts didn't notice quite in time. If you actually saw, there was a Molotov being thrown, so I'm not sure if he didn't see that or if he was just hoping that the Molotov would get thrown. But either way, it's a full squad of conscripts down. Meanwhile, pretty intense defensive line being set up over here on the left side. 2 machine guns with a pretty decent amount of vet on them. Mobile reinforce point infantry. We don't really have any heavy AT available to take that half-track out yet, although we do see that a support weapon Campanile has been produced. So I would expect that he's going to follow his mortar up with this field gun. But until that hits the field, he's just going to have to bombard with a mortar. We do have a demo charge being placed up here on the munitions point, so that should be good. Potentially wiping out something like this 2-man Grenadier squad when it makes its way up there. Actually, if he makes it into that Grenadier's retreat path with both of these conscripts, that could be pretty bad too. A little bit of counter harassment being moved up here to fight these conscripts. The half-track doing a good job of supporting these troops, reinforcing them in the field. Nice smoke grenade by those shock troops, but it won't be enough to protect those conscripts, unfortunately. They did catch those grenadiers in the retreat path. Unfortunately, it looks like he wasn't watching and he didn't chase, he didn't block, and the squad will make it away unharmed. Pack moving up a little bit, keeping it in a defensive position since his opponent doesn't really have any armor right now. Ooh, Panzer Grenadiers taking heavy damage. They do round the corner though, and they should be fine. MG's taking pretty heavy fire. Grenadiers moving to harass the south. Machine gun protecting this flank, although it's kind of in a weird position. It doesn't actually benefit from cover right here, and I think some conscripts could probably oorah right past it. Of course, this is also a vulnerable flank, so that's kind of a weird spot for that machine gun, but okay. Lots of mortars being produced. I thought he was going to get a Zis, but he decided to just keep getting mortars. Interesting. Conscripts harassing over here on the right, harassing the victory point. Second demo charge going down as well, making this a very dangerous area for him to be capturing, although he placed the demo charge on the south side of the victory point instead of the east side, so he is going to be banking on the squads moving up through this route rather than through this route. And it also, of course, depends on whether he right clicks the point or just clicks into the area, so it's kind of a just have to hope that he stands in the right spot at the end of the day. Counter harassment moving up towards the north. Meanwhile, there is a bit of a push happening for the left side by these mortars and a single conscript squad. The grenadiers look like they may be a little bit much for the conscripts to take on. The mortars firing on the machine gun don't connect as it has repositioned, and it looks like Hon3ynuts infantry is all being forced away in the north as well. However, once those demo charges start getting triggered, you might see a bit of a shift in unit preservation and field presence, and we also will note that Hon3ynuts has 330 fuel right now, planting some mines. He could get a KV-8, but it looks like he's holding out for IS-2. Kind of a dangerous thing to do. A KV-8 would certainly be very helpful right now. Have no problem clearing out this pack, no problem clearing out these machine guns, deal devastating damage to all of the infantry. There's not really that much of a hard counter to it on the field right now. If we take a look at SS in action, he's got 58 fuel. He does actually have a Panzer IV cooking. He does have Panzer IV cooking, so I guess Hon3ynuts has a sort of sense that it's 17 minutes into the game, pretty decent chance of enemy armor being on the field soon. Doesn't want to bring in the KV-8, he would rather just hold out for IS-2. And judging by the current fuel situation, by the time he has the manpower for a second IS-2, he'll probably have the fuel as well. So those are going to be his next big purchases, 2 IS-2s, judging by his resources. But he does have to put a bit of a hole in his manpower for that Zis field gun that he's purchasing now. So it's going to be a while before his first IS-2 hits the field. Of course, he is also gated by the 11 CP requirement. Ooh, demo charge went off there. I think I missed it. It looks like it got 3 out of 4 men.
We are losing supplies to the enemy.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure how many grenadier squads he had. I think he had 3, so I don't think he got a full. I don't think he wiped a squad there. I think he just got 3 out of 4. Mortar firing. The Soviet mortar is not really very good.
Our opponents are seizing a sector.
Panzer IV makes a pretty grand entrance, dealing pretty heavy damage to everything. Already has 3 kills right after rounding the corner, and you'll note that it's Vet 2 already. He definitely used troop training on that in the base. So I think he invested possibly even 2 uses of troop training on there, so that could be 50 fuel, judging by the fact that it's Vet 2. I'm pretty sure that is 2 usages of that ability. So he spent an extra 50 fuel on that. Demo charge is probably going to go off here. Won't get the full squad though, I don't think. Hon3ynuts may not even notice this. Oh, there it goes. Full squad down. They repositioned to fight those conscripts, and that was the end of that squad. Maxim machine gun moving up to assist and support in this fight, although it's going to be taking fire from a Panzer IV and an MG42. Also, loss of infantry over here. Yeah, it was a little overextended, and he's forced to make full retreat. At the same time, this MG42 gets caught by some conscripts, and it has to pull away. Ooh, getting way too close to those conscripts with that half-track. AT grenade probably going out. Oh no, he actually used the AT grenade on the Panzer IV. That's a shame. I think an AT grenade on the rear armor of that half-track would have destroyed it, and if not, he could have turned his field gun to help. He's unfortunately trying to move while camouflage. Makes him move at a snail's pace. Shock troops trying to do a little bit of damage soak so that his Zis gun can get some shots off. Panzer IV still a little exposed and needs to back it up. And there it goes. I think Hon3ynuts might have to use attack ground to hit it. I think he could hit it if he did use attack ground. Fire. Oh, he missed. Damn. Mortar's doing pretty good bleed, though. This squad's taking some heavy damage. Demo charge also wiping out a full squad on the north, allowing these conscripts to do some good map harassment, giving Hon3ynuts good munitions control. He has control of both of the munitions points at this time.
The enemy is attempting to steal our sector.
But things are pretty even. It's going to come down to how well Hon3ynuts can use his IS-2s before the Tiger Ace hits the field. Hon3ynuts knows a Tiger Ace is on the way. You pretty much generally see tier 3 when the opponent has gone elite troops. He of course has also seen stun grenades, he's seen G43s and Panzer Tacticians, so he knows pretty much beyond shadow of doubt that Tiger Ace is on the way. There is some counter harassment happening down here in the south. MG42 moving up. Hon3ynuts makes no attempt at a Molotov and simply retreats immediately. We also have a Maxim moving up into the house. Mortars repositioning to get a better get into better range against some of the team weapons over here. Doing what they can. Conscript squad on the north got pushed away by some infantry. They will be moving up. Conscripts forcing away the MG42 with Ura. Shock soaking up the damage here on the strategic point. Conscripts moving back to capture. Field gun moving up to fire on the Panzer IV. Unfortunately, it's not quite in position. Shocks are going to be forced back. And the counter harassment continues in the south. A bit of a ceasefire now. Hon3ynuts really just kind of holding ground, waiting for the manpower to tick up so that he can bring in the IS-2. Mortars continuing to fire away.
As ready as we can be. Enemy forces are attempting to capture our territory.
Well done, comrades. The point is ours.
Minor engagement here in the south. Looks like a Molotov is going out, but the Grenadiers are Vet 3 and very nicely spread. Good dodge. Very nice dodge. Conscripts moving into close range. They do take out a model, but they're essentially forced away. Panzer IV is also moving up to assist, but finally the Stalin tank hits the field, and it is on its way to push back the German armor, do everything it can. And I cast a game quite recently of Zark Cloud versus Run to the Sun, where we got to see some really good IS-2 play, so hopefully we're going to see something similar in this game. Meanwhile, back down here in the south, the mortar's doing good work. If we take a look, we've got 5 kills on that one, 6 kills on that one, and when those kills are against Grenadiers and other, expensive infantry, that does start to add up, certainly. Nothing catastrophic, but they are getting the job done, I would say. And I definitely think that in order to have a dramatic impact, you do need 2 of them, because the single Soviet mortar is just not all that effective. We actually have an Ostern hitting the field. It looks like the conscripts are going to make an attempt at an AT grenade, but it's just too fast. The AT gun did get a shot off on its frontal armor. It penetrated, did pretty respectable damage. Pack is moving down here to counter the IS-2, which has pushed away the Panzer IV. So Hon3ynuts now has a pretty secure hold on the south area of the map. He's going to need to start harassing and pushing the top as well. SS in action, doing a good job of being conservative and careful with his armor. He does not want to lose it until his Tiger Ace hits the field, and if we take a look, we'll see that he's at 14 command points. It's actually very close to having that Tiger Ace. Don't think that Hon3ynuts is quite ready for it, but he does still have to save up the 800 manpower, and that's very costly to do, especially when you have to be reinforcing your manpower in the field and that kind of thing. Panzer IV firing on some conscripts, dealing nice damage. Hon3ynuts moving up, taking some nasty shots though. Sitting right in the arc of fire of that field gun. He really shouldn't be doing that. Vetting it up is a dangerous thing to do. A Vet 3 field gun is much more dangerous to your Tiger Ace than a normal field gun is. Mortar's doing nice damage to the pack as well, forcing it to continually reposition and making it quite vulnerable to being cleared. And of course, it's just more manpower bleed as well. IS-2 trying to move up, take a nice shot. It does land one, I think, against something. Slowly vetting up, very slowly. It only has 3 kills currently. Half-track moving up against these conscripts. AT grenade going out though, so kind of a strange thing to do without anything nearby to repair. In fact, all of his pioneers are dead right now. And he will definitely need to call some in before bringing in the Tiger Ace, otherwise he's going to be desperate for repairs.
We are losing a sector.
Ooh. So much for that half-track. Totally unsupported. P4 nowhere to be seen. Pack nowhere to be seen. Sent it in with a IS-2 on the field. Let it essentially get damaged, and it was pretty much dead as soon as that AT grenade connected. Field gun moving up to support as well. IS-2 getting some kills. We have mortar support. And that's the Vet 2 MG42 taken down. Meanwhile, up here in the north, though, Hon3ynuts dealing pretty heavy damage to that shock troop squad. Unfortunately, he's too busy microing the south to chase. If he had chased him, he probably could have killed it. Heavy damage going in on this building, but the Panzer Grenadiers to evacuate in time. Pack moving up to assist. But it's going to be very exposed to mortar fire here. He could actually fire through these bushes, but I'm sure he doesn't have vision. Oh, he almost does. He can't quite see the tank, but it is right there. Could just fire into the darkness. But instead, he's just going to reposition again. Hon3ynuts firing on the house. Panzer IV moving back for repairs. Still no pioneers on the field. He could bring in the Tiger Ace, but I think that would be a mistake without any pioneers to assist. I don't know. It would definitely have a very dramatic impact with only a 1 field gun and an IS-2 available to hold it back. But he does decide to get some pioneers first. Good decision. Safe decision. Playing it safe, definitely the smarter thing to do. So he will be fighting a full health IS-2, but at the same time, he'll have the ability to repair afterward. And I think that's what's more important. Playing the long game, especially when you're playing as Hon3ynuts. Vet 2 on both of these mortars now. Despite only having 8 and 9 kills, their damage spread is obviously doing good work, or they wouldn't be vetting up so high. And I think that's how a mortar should work, is that it deals a nice spread of damage across a squad, but doesn't wipe squads like the 120mm mortar does, which is just annoying.
You guys, listen to me if you want to live. How can we help?
I was about to say fucking annoying, but then I was like, that's too profane. But then I decided, who gives a shit. Alright. Victory point being captured by some conscripts over here. MG42 trying to set up some kind of line over here, I guess to defend the munitions. Meanwhile, we do have a little bit of harassment going in on the victory point up there. If we take a look at the victory points, we'll see that Hon3ynuts is doing pretty well. He only has to knock 100 more off the clock, and that's definitely feasible with the doctrine and unit selection he has at his disposal. It's just going to come down to good play, making good plays, executing. Nice rifle grenade, terrible Molotov. That's exactly how things not to go. He needs to execute much better plays than that. Hon3ynuts also moving up to push back anything that might try the same thing, such as that conscript squad. Once again, he has the 800 manpower for the ace, and finally, he is going to hit the field. Some repairs going off on his Vet 3 now, Panzer 4. I'm not sure if he used troop training again or he simply got Vet 3 through kills. I wouldn't think that 16 infantry kills would be enough to get Vet 3, but I'm not sure. I wasn't paying close enough attention. Hon3ynuts catches some conscripts. They don't even make an attempt at an AT grenade. They simply immediately retreat. And it looks like he is going to chase. There's not really anything protecting the retreat path either. He could go all the way to the base if he wanted, but I don't know, maybe that wouldn't be a good idea. This IS-2 is right there. And he's not going to do that. Tiger Ace moving up, blasting the building to oblivion. It's probably not going to last much longer. Unfortunately, he wasn't paying attention to his machine gun down here, and some conscripts overwhelmed it with Ura, I suspect, and a Molotov, and that's the end of that. Machine gun. He's probably also going to be recovering the weapon with that squad, so that's going to actually be quite problematic. And again, the Tiger Ace has no problem clearing out a machine gun team. Second field gun is actually ready, though, for the Tiger Ace, so that's good to see. Pretty typical of Axis players to just sit in front of an AT gun and fire at it, trying to brute force it down, which honestly, it annoys me that the Tiger Ace is so strong that it can do that without being punished. Then again, it does have, actually, it's getting punished pretty hard. Pretty nasty damage going in on it, but still, field gun does get taken out. Oh, but he hit a mine! He hit a mine, and oh my goodness. Hit a mine and got taken out by the Vet 3 AT gun, but the combined fire of the Panzer 4, the Tiger Ace, and the pack were too much, and the Tiger Ace got taken out, but it just doesn't even matter. He's hitting mines left and right. They're littered all over the place, but his Vet 3 B4 is so tanky, it doesn't even matter. He's just wiping out everything in the area. All the team weapons cleared, all the infantry destroyed, the Stalin tank wiped out. We do have another force moving up, trying to support on the flank, but a perfectly positioned MG42 prevents anything from moving in. And the P4 is probably going to be fine as the Hon3ynuts also moves up to screen. Molotov going in on the pack, though.
The squad of pioneers has arrived.
Nice damage. And those infantry are all going to be pushed back. And SS in Action's economy is actually going to be restored to full speed, as the Tiger Ace did not survive that engagement. Of course, he's not going to be able to bring in a second one. He can only do it once, but it did its job. Wiped out the IS-2 and a decent chunk of Hon3ynuts' other infantry. And now the Hon3ynuts has free reign to just harass like crazy inside the Soviet base, wiping infantry squads, forcing them away from the HQ so that they can't heal or reinforce. And that leaves Hon3ynuts in a pretty awkward position. Not sure what he's gonna do now. As far as SS in action, it looks like we have a Stuke 3 G assault gun hitting the field, so that's interesting.
Taking Soviet fire!
But another IS-2 is on its way to save the day. The Tiger Ace is dead. There's no possibility of a second Tiger Ace coming in. So hopefully Hon3ynuts is going to be able to push things back, take control of the game back. Hon3ynuts down.
One of our panzers has been destroyed.
He does have time. He's got 316 victory points remaining, 72 on the opponent. So it's plausible that he could come back from this, but he's going to need to be careful. Look at the damage. Look at the rate of fire and penetration on that pack. There we go. There's a bounce at max range. Panzer 4 is still on the field. It's Vet 3 getting repaired. Of course, a Stug, Sturmgeschütz, probably, I don't know if I think that's a good decision. IS-2 will have no problem penetrating its frontal armor. But it can fire at pretty long range, has a pretty good damage and penetration rate of fire. It also has target weak point now that he just used troop training on it. So we'll see if it has, we'll see if it is effective. It's going to need something to tank damage in the front, but should be able to do respectable damage. Bit of a push coming in from some conscripts here. Machine gun taking some damage. Ooh, nice flame crit from the Molotov. Wipes out the Vet 3 crew. So he's going to have to recruit that.
The enemy is attempting to steal our sector. Our opponents
that's weird.
are seizing a sector.
Apparently that's a two-man mortar team capturing the point. I don't know where the other half of that two-man mortar team is, but okay. Oh, it's over there. Interesting. He was doing some kind of like some kind of bug exploit or something where he like captures both points. Of course, it doesn't actually work. Or actually, maybe they're just stuck. I think that guy's just stuck right there. Okay, I don't know what's going on there, but it's kind of weird.
Enemy forces are securing our territory.
More reinforcement happening. Austere player taking back control of the victory points. Stalin tank moving across the south. Not sure what it's doing. More troop training going up on the Stug, so it's now Vet 2. Lots of fuel and manpower being invested in the veterancy there. It's kind of COH1 style almost, spending manpower and fuel on veterancy. Of course, it's only on one unit, not on all your units. And they're both just out of range of each other in the fog of war and just can't quite see each other.
We are losing a sector.
Another Stug hitting the field over here. And this has been a very long ceasefire, just no engagements happening at all. Hon3ynuts too timid to push with the zonally tank. SS in action, just sort of sitting back and defending the victory points. That's all he really has to do. Oh, looks like he's actually going to get a little more aggressive here. Stormgeschütz sustains a pretty nasty hit to the frontal armor. Oh, there goes target weak point. Nice stun. That's going to probably last a while. Combat engineers taking nasty damage from the AoEs. Oh no, what is this? That was some bad pathing right there. But another IS-2 is actually on the field here. But it just isn't going to be enough. Those masked Stugs are just too much damage. Look at this damage. Not a single bounce. Hon3ynuts just can't catch a break here. And the armored assault is just too powerful. And that's going to be GG. I think, yeah. That's GG. Hon3ynuts surrenders because he knows that there's just no chance of him taking on these tanks. That was a bit of an unfortunate pathing happening right there, but at the same time, the usage of target weak point from these Stugs was really, really powerful. Incredibly powerful ability, just really devastating. It's almost like the Axis form of a button, if you think about it, but it's... You can use it at long range, and it's on your tanks. Of course, it doesn't last nearly as long as Button used to. Button has been nerfed in its most recent patch. I haven't cast a game that contained it yet, though, so you haven't gotten to see those nerfs, but it's definitely not nearly as powerful as it used to be. Anyway, pretty good game. Tiger Ace, Doctrine, pretty much standard stuff. Once you bring that thing in, it just blasts its way through all of the enemy's defenses, and if you can kill enough stuff with it, you pretty much win, because you have a massive fuel advantage as a result. Hon3ynuts just couldn't keep up, even though he brought in 3 IS-2s. He never had more than 1 in an engagement at a time. He brought in 3, but he just couldn't keep them alive, and that cost him the game, unfortunately. So, well played by both players, for sure. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, you can send me a message, and I'm happy to do a cast of your game. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.